You wake up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep. You check your phone, and before you've even left your bed in the morning, your body's already feeling tense. And there's always more to do, but somehow you're still feeling like you're behind everyone else. And if you're anything like how I was, you might tell yourself, oh, this is just a busy season, but it's been a busy season for years. And so what I've learned is that you don't have a time management problem, you have a nervous system problem. You have an energy management problem. And Albert Einstein said that you can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So simply trying again and working harder and harder from this same level of fear or stress or anxiety or not enoughness is only going to continue to perpetuate this feeling of burnout. And burnout is not a badge of honor. It is your body actively crying out for a different way of living. I remember like early on in my life, I was hustling and grinding throughout school to get a good score in year 12 to set myself up for a great esteemed degree at university, to really work hard to try and get into a good medical school, to try and make my parents proud of me. And all of that was really grounded in this feeling of unworthiness, of not feeling good enough, of consistently chasing my worth through work. And I deep down, I thought, if I worked harder, if I achieved more, if I continued to prove myself, then maybe the noise inside would actually quiet down. And, you might be feeling that the same as well. Maybe you're in a professional environment, in a corporation somewhere, and you're really working hard and you're putting in big hours to cut your teeth, make a good impression, to really strive hard to work your way up the corporate ladder, to appease those who you're reporting to. Maybe you're building your business. Maybe you're pouring in blood, sweat, time, energy, love over consistently huge days. Maybe if you're like me, self-medicating to cope. Doesn't necessarily need to be through drugs and alcohol. It could be through other things. It could be through food, through sugar, through shopping, gambling, sexing, porn, anything to try and cope and continue to push past fatigue, getting to this place of overworking and overfunctioning. And my emotional state at the time was that I felt so wired and so on edge, but my body was fucking knackered, so tired, so restless, so anxious. And what was happening here was I was just continuing to try to outrun my nervous system. My nervous system, your nervous system, is the best source of truth, I believe. It's the most intelligent piece of machinery that we have inside us, the best biofeedback machine, better than any Whoop, better than any Apple Watch. And it is always trying to communicate to you through the emotions that you're experiencing, through these data points. But I wasn't listening to it, right? I wasn't listening to it. And the burnout that I was experiencing wasn't my body failing me. It was my body finally refusing to lie for me, to put up this facade. And unfortunately, we're raised in a culture and in a world that worships output and productivity and GDP and shames rest. Now, I think we're on the cusp of a really exciting shift in consciousness and in evolution as more and more people are seeking out wellness, with the industry massively growing. But there's still a lot of hustle culture conditioning there. Maybe you experienced it in school, from your parents, from teachers, maybe in the workplace, for working for an organization or a boss that has enforced really unhealthy working conditions. They might have a complete disregard for your well-being and your sense of or autonomy and agency, and maybe it's just become normalized that you put in 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-hour days consistently. Even if it means sacrificing your well-being, even if it means sacrificing time for you, for your loved ones. And when it becomes normal, that's part of the conditioning. It's difficult to break out of. And all of it is tied to this equation that worth equals productivity. Gabor Mate, absolute guru and expert in the psychiatry and trauma space, says that burnout isn't caused by work alone. It's caused by the compulsion to meet expectations that we've internalized since childhood. So even when you may be striving hard to put in some serious hours in your business or in your workplace, you may very well be trying to continuously meet these expectations that have been ingrained and internalized since your early childhood years, from parents, from teachers, from school, from your guardian. And there's a real root here. There's a real belief beneath the burnout that I want to tie this to. Everything that I talk about and that I try to communicate over the course of these episodes is to ground it in a root cause approach, because I believe that if we just try and instill coping tools, they can help for some time. Sure, they're very valuable and effective, but unless you address the root cause, it's kind of like just putting lipstick on a pig. So what I've learned, and certainly through my work with clients and in my own experience, is that it's not the workload that's causing the burnout, it's the wound. It's the core belief that I'm not enough yet. I'm falling behind. I am not where I need to be. Everyone else is ahead of me. I have to prove that I'm worthy. If any of those resonate with you, let me know. Drop a comment if you're on YouTube, or send me a message. I want to hear from you, because I believe this is a really universal thing. And I think the more light that we can shine on it, the less alone that we can feel in this drama and in this unnecessary cycle of suffering. And I want to introduce one of the frameworks that I take clients through that has really helped me understand what's happening here at a fundamental root cause level. And it's nothing new. It's grounded in behavioral psychology. It's called the psychocybernetic loop. And it starts with the belief, like, for instance, I'm not enough. And your beliefs influence the thoughts that you have on a moment-by-moment basis. So if you believe that I'm not enough, then you may experience thoughts like, I need to do more, or I'm still not doing enough. And those thoughts, which are an electrical conductivity in your brain, get transferred through the nervous system and experienced in the body as emotions of anxiety, guilt, urgency. I mean, I don't know, you tell me, like, when you experience a thought like, I need to do more, I'm falling behind, how does that make you feel? It doesn't make me feel good. And the emotional state that you're operating from influences the actions that you take. So if you're experiencing the emotions of anxiety, guilt, urgency, stress, you're likely to take actions aligned with that, like overworking, overfunctioning, self-abandonment, betraying your own needs, betraying your well-being. And then those actions influence your results. And so if you're overworking, overfunctioning, abandoning your needs, it's going to lead to results of fatigue, mistakes, disappointment. And then what happens, this is why I call it the cycle of creation. This is like a loop. When you produce these results of fatigue, mistakes, disappointment, it reinforces the initial belief that I am not enough. And so it's not that your results need to change, it's the initial core belief that has started this vicious cycle in the first place, which can turn into a virtuous cycle when you pause long enough to question it and change it. And behavioral psychology tells us that your subconscious mind is always trying to confirm what it believes. Your subconscious mind, as in the mind that operates below your conscious awareness, that is composed of a series of very intelligent systems in the body and the brain, is responsible for over 95% of your results, perceptions, and behaviors. Your subconscious mind is always trying to confirm what it believes. And Carl Jung, one of my role models and certainly one of the experts in psychology and psychiatry and shadow work that have influenced and inspired my work, famously said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. I want to say that again because it's such a ripper quote, an idea which I completely believe to be true. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. What does that really mean? It means until you become aware of the subconscious patterns, subconscious, unconscious patterns that are silently driving your life, they will continue to direct your life. You will just call it fate. You will just call it, this is my destiny. This is how life is naturally unfolding. However, there's an opportunity to rewire it and to change it. The real work here isn't in trying to manage your calendar to try and prevent or mitigate burnout. It's actually in reprogramming your conditioning. It's in reprogramming your subconscious mind. And some fascinating research that came out in the last 10 to 20 years about the science of dysregulation through the body keeps the score from Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And they said, when you're in survival mode, your amygdala hijacks logic. When you're in survival mode, your amygdala, which is your mammalian survival-based response mechanism that is always scanning for threats in your environment, it hijacks your logic, your reasoning faculty. So cortisol and adrenaline flood your system, your stress skyrockets, and you get stuck in the fight, flight, freeze, fawn system of the autonomic nervous system. So you're not in a flow state. You're not operating from peace, from calm. And what happens here, what happened to me, is that your body learns that safety is found in stress. It's become so conditioned over months and years, possibly even decades, that the only way to feel safe is through feeling stressed. And calm feels unsafe. And this chronic urgency, again, grounded in this belief that I'm not enough, keeps your system wired. And that's why rest feels so uncomfortable. That's why it feels so uncomfortable to just stop, to pause, to do something nice for yourself. Because your body associates peace with danger. You can't heal your nervous system if it still thinks you're in a war zone. Your body and your nervous system is responding in the same way that it would when it's under attack. In the same way that, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response would switch on when we were roaming on the savannah hundreds of thousands, millions of years ago and constantly afraid of a saber-toothed tiger. But there's no saber-toothed tiger here. But we've been conditioned on a nervous system level to believe that we're under threat. We need to stay in this stress-based state because it's familiar, because it's safe. And, within the context of achievement and professional development and business, I experienced so many different tipping points in my journey where I would pour all of this time and energy into a marketing campaign that I thought was really going to work. And I was really sacrificing my health along the way, and it flopped. And I spiraled, and my body was so inflamed. I found it difficult to walk comfortably, let alone to work out in the gym, because the fascia around my muscles was just so tight. My nervous system was so contracted. It was constantly on guard, hypervigilant, because of this cycle of burnout and lack of safety that I had created. And so I realized that I was creating in my business and in my work from a place of fear, not freedom from my thoughts, not freedom from these negative fear-based emotional states. I was creating from fear and stress and anxiety and scarcity. And so every project that I was putting my time and energy into, my business, every plan was infused with anxiety. And I just thought, I need to work harder because, everyone out there online is telling me that I need to work harder, that I need to wake up earlier. Absolute bullshit. Calling it out for what it is. Granted, having a great work ethic is super, super important, right? But it doesn't mean that you take action from this place of stress and anxiety, because that energy was echoed back to me in my results. And I was scratching my head and wondering, is there something wrong with me? What is going on here? And then I realized what was going on. It's because I feel like something's wrong with me, because it feels like something that I'm not doing enough, that I'm falling behind, coupled with the fact that my nervous system was in overdrive. And it hit me that I was taking action from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. As Einstein said, I was taking action from the same level of fear-based consciousness that created the problem in the first place. So that kind of set me on a wild goose chase to start exploring a different path, a more elegant path to personal and professional development. And I believe that we're on the cusp of something really exciting. There is an emergence of a new way of operating, a more elegant way, not one that's grounded in hustling and grinding and pushing and forcing, but one that's grounded in flow, one that's grounded in self-awareness and regulation. And I believe it starts with a mindset shift. It's asking yourself, before you taking action, is this coming from a place of fear or peace? Because when you check in with yourself and you have that dialogue and you use your nervous system as a biofeedback machine, it will tell you whether you're operating from a place of fear or peace. And you can use whatever tools you have at your disposal to regulate so that you're able to take action from a really powerful place. And what I've learned is that success that is built on layers and layers of stress completely collapses when you stop. Completely collapses when you stop. However, success that's built on stillness, that's built on self-awareness, endures. It's a type of success and achievement and accomplishment and striving that is sustainable. Like, how much better does that feel, knowing that, I can do this for longer, and I can do this better, and I can do this in a more peaceful, calm, purposeful way than a way that's coming from fear and stress and anxiety. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu says, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." What a beautiful quote. Nature does not hurry. Do you look out at the birds and see them hurrying and stressing and worrying, or the monkeys in the trees stressing and worrying and fighting? Nature does not hurry. Everything is accomplished. Everything is provided for. I think when we can get into a habit and a practice of understanding that and embodying it, then we can operate from flow, because flow doesn't come from doing more. Flow doesn't come from hustling harder, putting in longer hours. It comes from being in alignment. And granted, it might be really difficult to find alignment. I know it was for me for a fucking long time. I was constantly scanning my environment for threats. Why? Because I felt pretty unsafe throughout some of my childhood. I can cast my mind back to several moments where I was beaten senselessly, where I felt so alone for the first time in my life, after my parents' separation, after my dad tried to take his life, after I got pulled over with substances in my system and I had to go to court, after I watched my business collapse and my co-founder turn against me, after going through such painful breakups and losing my best friend in the world, my grandma, so suddenly. And so it's not always easy to operate from alignment. If you're anything like me, you might find that you're dysregulated for a really long time, and it takes time to come back to center and to realize that, man, all of this pain, it really hurts. I know that it's been intelligently designed to set me up for my transformation, for my growth. And I know that if I can go through that stuff to learn from it and to learn how to teach my body to feel safe again, you absolutely can too. I absolutely believe in you. And so the nervous system regulation piece, it's a skill. Calm and finding calm and coming back to calm is a skill. It's not a mood. I mean, some really easy tools that you can lean on straight off the bat. It's just taking 3 conscious breaths before any task. I mean, it's nothing we haven't heard before, right? It's nothing we haven't heard before. But it can be really, really powerful, something so simple. Or a 90-second emotional pause to take inspiration from Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor's finding on emotional waves. Non-sleep deep rest has been a game changer for me as well. 10 to 20 minute practice of experiencing the same level of rest and peace and calm in my nervous system that I would after a full night's sleep. So doing NSDR or yoga nidra after work blocks has definitely helped me break up my day with these moments of pause to actually operate from a more calm, peaceful, sustainable place as opposed to burning myself out over and over again. And neuroscience tells us this. Again, like regulation restores prefrontal cortex function. Your amygdala calms down and your decision, your focus, your creativity come back online. Right? And it's cheesy as it sounds, as liberally as it's used. It is this notion of surrender. I really believe it's this notion of surrender. When you finally can actually ease up a bit. Surrender to your circumstances, surrender control, and surrender to your body to find out what it's trying to teach you, what it's trying to communicate to you. Listen to it. Maybe going to bed a little bit earlier, maybe saying no to that person who doesn't feel aligned, who doesn't necessarily nourish you. When you actually rebuild that trust with your body, then you're able to tap into a greater level of consciousness and awareness. You're able to really pour some of your most creative energy into your work. Osho said that your mind is a great servant, but a terrible master. That's why I believe, working with the body is super important. Working with the mind is as important as well. It's an opportunity to learn to observe your thoughts rather than obey them, rather than misidentify with them. This is going to be like a running thread and theme throughout all of these episodes. And if you don't believe it, if you don't gel with it, if you feel triggered by it, then, this podcast probably isn't for you. But the reality is, you are not your thoughts. You are not your body. You are not your name. You are not what you do for work. You are not what you accumulate. You are the awareness behind all of that. You are the soul that is behind all of that. I mean, there's freedom in that. There's freedom in that. And when you can get into different practices to identify that, the voice that's saying you're behind, you're not enough, isn't truth, that it's a trauma response, and you can have that greater level of awareness and abide in the natural state of what you are, which is this loving awareness, which is this loving, compassionate, peaceful soul, you experience liberation. And an easy way, well, it isn't easy, but it is simple, as higher up wellness would say, my man Mike, spend 10 minutes a day in a concentration meditation. If you want to get deeper into this work with me, that's what I take my clients through as well, to actually educate and empower everyone I work with to learn how to concentrate, to learn how to abide from this place of awareness, so you don't misidentify with your thoughts and your emotional states and start to be hijacked by them. Or you can even just do candle gazing. That's been shown to improve metacognitive awareness as well. Just staring into a candle and watching the flame 5-10 minutes a day, right? Nothing groundbreaking here. But it is an invitation and a remembrance to just be your own best friend. I think that's what a big part of this work is all about. It's learning how to be your own best friend, not your harshest manager. Don't crack the whip on yourself like perhaps your parents did, or your boss did, or your partner did. Be your own best friend. Be your best cheerleader. Be your best coach. And the last piece is the behavioral reset. Create a rhythm in your life, in your day, that actually honors your energy. Again, this isn't about time management. It isn't about managing blocks in your calendar. It's about grounding. It's about batching deep work in your highest energy windows. For me, that's in the morning. That's why I'm recording podcasts in the morning, because I have higher energy. And protect your recovery time like you would a client meeting. Protect your time. It is so sacred. Protect your energy. It is so sacred. Discipline is not about this drill sergeant mentality where you are punishing your humanity. Discipline is true devotion to your energy. That's what I believe it is. And the OGs, the Stoics, said you can't control outcomes, only your state of being. So don't worry about the outcomes and the effects of what you're doing. Focus on the only thing you can control, your state of being. Your mind, your body, your soul. Focus on those pieces. That's the only thing you can control, and everything else will take care of itself. So I want to walk you through a burnout recovery blueprint, 5 steps, some stuff you can take away from this podcast, implement straight away. Almost as always, start with awareness. Notice those triggers. Notice when the urgency to take action from fear takes over. Notice when the comparison to other people on social media or in your friendship circles takes over. Pay attention to that. And then when you become aware of it, get into a habit and a practice of regulation. Pause. Breathe. Maybe take 3 conscious breaths. Maybe try NSDR. Let the wave pass you by before acting. Step 3, reflect. What underlying belief is driving this? Is it I'm not enough? Is it I'm falling behind? Is it I don't have what it takes? Is it I need to do more? And notice what comes up. And then you have the agency and the autonomy to choose differently. Choose peace over panic. In every moment, you get to choose how you show up. Choose peace over panic. Choose alignment and calm over speed and frenzied action. And lastly, step 5, get into a practice of restoration. Like I was saying before, really take the time out to schedule stillness. Protect moments where you get to play and prioritize your pleasure. I mean, again, nothing groundbreaking here, but I think we can often forget when we're caught up in this vicious cycle of burnout. I mean, I'll scream it from the rooftops. Your energy is so, so sacred. Protect it. Protect it as you would a newborn baby. And maybe if you're a journaler like me, you may want to journal around the idea that if I already believed that I was enough, how would I approach work this week? If I already believed that I was enough, how would I approach work this week? And, even to kind of come back to that quote from Lao Tzu, nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. Even if you just indulged me and you just pretended everything is already accomplished, how would you show up? So to bring this in for a landing, I hope I've driven this point home hard enough for you that you don't fix burnout by doing less or scaling back your workload. You fix it by doing differently, by getting into this habit and practice of self-inquiry, trying to understand what is the core belief that's underlying this, that's driving this behavior, and getting in tune with your nervous system, the most intelligent piece of machinery that you have at your disposal. The nervous system doesn't heal through force. It doesn't heal through stress. It doesn't heal through hurried, frenzied action. It heals through safety. So how can you restore safety back into your nervous system? I believe the highest performers that I've worked with that are performing in areas of business and sports and film and entertainment have supreme control over their nervous system. True high performance is not about intensity. It's about intentionality. So, thank you so much for being here. Please use this as your invitation, as your permission slip to slow down. Not because you're losing, not because you're falling behind. None of that is true. But because you are remembering who is in charge. You are in charge. You're the boss. You're numero uno. You're the king of your thing and the queen of your scene, to quote Myron Golden. And you get to choose. So I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.